Hello everybody, welcome to the part 2 of Watercolor Basics. I am Torit Mato. If you haven't seen the part 1, please watch that first because that covers the details of watercolor materials and wash techniques. In this video, I'll cover the rest of the watercolor painting techniques, which are wet on dry, wet on wet, lifting out, masking and texturing techniques, and then discuss the basic painting steps one should generally follow from beginning to end. Working wet on dry. As we discussed, watercolor paints are transparent and consequently paintings are built up in layers working from light to dark. It is seldom possible to achieve a really dark color with just one wash because the paint must be diluted with water in order to spread, and the white of the paper will always show through to some extent. Thus, the darkest colors are achieved by laying one wash over another until the required depth is achieved. This layering method is known as wet on dry because each wash must be fully dry before the next is added. It is the classic watercolor technique. When each wash dries, it forms hard edges at the boundaries. These edges are a positive feature of wet on dry painting, adding crisp energy to the image. The method relies for its success on careful planning. It is not wise to pile on too much color. As a general rule, you should limit yourself to not more than 3 overlaid washes, as otherwise the colors will begin to lose its clarity, becoming stirred up and muddy. Thus, when you begin a painting, you need to have a clear idea of what the finished work is going to look like, as only in this way you can estimate the depth of color you need for the first washes. Overlaid washes should be always restricted to relatively small areas of the picture. You also need to plan the highlights. As we have already discussed, the white in watercolor comes from the paper. White highlights are achieved by reserving, which means leaving the space as white paper and painting around it. Highlights are not always white, but areas of a light colored wash can be reserved in the same way by leaving parts showing through overlaid washes. White highlights can be added in opaque paint, but for purity and sparkle you can't beat unblemished white paper. Laying layer over an already existing layer is also referred as glazing. Working wet on wet. This method, which involves applying new colors before the first ones have been allowed to dry, is often regarded as a special method, quite separate from the classic wet on dry technique. This technique is used to create soft edges. In fact, although some artists do paint whole picture wet into wet, it is perhaps most usual to see the two methods used in conjunction with one another. Painting wet into wet is enormously enjoyable. One of the delights of watercolor is its unpredictability, and here the medium is at its tantalizing best. You never know exactly what will happen. Surprisingly, when you drop one wet color into another, they do not mix completely. The weight of water in the new brush stroke pushes the first layers of paint away slightly, so that the colors mingle and bleed into one another, while still remaining separate to an extent. This can create very exciting effects which vary according to how wet the paint is, the kind of paper you use, and the colors themselves. Different pigments have different behavior patterns. The main problem with the method is that you can't control it very precisely. The paint continues moving until it has dried, and you often find that you cannot preserve a particular effect. You can exert some control, however, by tilting the board so that the paint runs in a certain direction. Artists who paint extensively wet into wet will sometimes move the board around until they have achieved the flow of colors they want. They then use a hairdryer to hasten the drying process and thus freeze the picture at a specific moment. wet into wet can create a lovely soft atmosphere, and for this reason is often used for landscapes and weather effects. It can, however, look too soft, giving the painting a distinctly woolly and nebulous appearance, so sharper details are usually painted wet on dry as a final stage. You can also add an extra dimension to any subject by working wet into wet in small areas only, thus contrasting soft blurred edges with the crisper ones made by wet on dry washes. Lifting out method. We have already seen earlier that normally highlights are created by painting around them. There is, however, another method which involves putting on paint and then removing it. Highlights made by the classic reserving method have crisp, clear edges, but often a softer, more diffuse effect is required. For example, clouds or matte surfaced objects which do not have sharp highlights and would look unrealistic if painted in this way. In such cases, lifting out is the best method you need. It is beautiful, easy. All you need to do is lay down the paint, and before it is dried, dab into it or wipe it with a very slightly damp sponge, a rag, a piece of kitchen paper or blotting paper, or anything absorbent in fact. If you have ever worried about how to create the effects of white clouds in a blue sky without laboriously painting around the shapes, which looks unnatural anyway, your problems are solved. Simply lay a gradated wash and then dab into it, or for wind clouds, sweep across the paper with your chosen implement. More complex color effects can be created by lifting out one color to reveal another. You can even lift out dry paint in small areas using a firmer pressure and slightly more water. Alternatively, you can scrape into the paint with a blade. This scratching technique is commonly used for fine, tiny lines such as those created by light on blades of grass. Masking. Reserving is ideal if the highlights required are reasonably large and clearly defined, but often the highlights may be small and intricate, in which case it is helpful to use masking fluid. Some watercolor artists disdain the use of such methods, regarding them as mechanical or tricksy and consider it as a cheating method, but others find them indispensable. The great advantage of masking is that it removes the worry and allows you to paint more freely. If you have to think constantly about not taking the paint over little shapes which you want to reserve, there is a danger that your work may become tight and fussy. Masking fluid allows you to work as broadly and splashily as you like, knowing that those areas are protected. Masking fluid is a viscous solution sold in small bottles. It is either white or yellow, the latter being the best choice because you can see where you are putting it on. It is applied with a brush, and when dry, washes are laid on top. When these two are dry, the fluid is removed by rubbing with a finger or a plastic eraser. Wash the brush immediately because once dry, the fluid is very difficult to remove from the hairs, and do not use the most expensive brush. I feel there is nothing wrong in using masking fluid. An art material used for art is definitely artist-like. Texturing methods. There are a variety of techniques you can use to introduce the illusion of texture into your watercolor paintings. But because watercolor is a thin-bodied medium, you cannot ever create the kind of dimensional textures possible with oil or acrylic. But you can get some wonderful imitations of textures. Some of these textures rely on things that you place directly into a damp or wet wash of color. These include plastic wrap, creates a random rather geometric pattern. It creates beautiful textures when dry. If you place a bandage on top of wet paint and allow it to dry, it creates unique designs of nets. Salt creates lighter snowflake-like speckles that vary in size depending on the dampness of wash when the salt is added. The method involves dropping crystals of coarse sea salt into wet paint. The salt granules absorb the water while pushing away the pigment, leaving a pattern of pale, crystalline shapes when they are removed. The effects: rubbing alcohol creates a mottled lighter area which may have either a darker or lighter edge, depending on the pigment it is used with. Wax resist. In one way, this technique is similar to that of using masking fluid. Both involve creating a block which prevents the paint from reaching the paper, but wax resist gives a very different effect. Unlike masking fluid, however, which leaves perfect shapes when removed, the wax creates a subtler, lightly speckled effect. This is because watercolor paper is textured, so the wax adheres only to the top of the grain unless you draw very heavily indeed with a candle or crayon. Unique textures can be created by dabbing wet or dry sponge over wet paint. Stamping is also an effective technique to repeat the same shapes like flowers, patterns, and so on. Still, other textures use various tools to imprint, drip, splatter, or splash paint onto your paper, like sponges and stencils and toothbrushes. Other textures involve manipulating the wash using the handle end of your brush or other tool. They include scraping, which leaves lighter line when done correctly, and scratching, which leaves darker line when done correctly. Now we will consolidate all these and make a basic flowchart of the painting process. Watercolor painting is done from background to foreground and from light to dark. The basic steps involve: first, drawing a pencil sketch of the intended painting using a light pencil. Then do the large washes, which are generally light washes or texturing in large area. Then do the small washes lightly over the small areas, which may involve different color. Then the medium or dark washes, fresh or over the applied washes as glazes. Then do the medium or dark brush strokes or stamping or stencil work and fine detailing. This brings us to an end to the video. Please subscribe and share if you like the video, and put your comments please. If you have any question, you may leave a comment. Be sure you will get a reply from me. Stay safe. See you.